Parents with nanny cams. What have you caught your babysitter doing? Wish I had a nanny cam. My stepsister was watching my brother with disabilities for me. She would dump out the contents of his capsules, meds, and use them later. Didn't find out about it till he started having seizures constantly and ended up in the hospital for the second time. Not a nanny cam because this happened in the 90s and I don't think we had them in Scotland then, but my mum came home early one day because she had become suspicious of our nanny as my sister and I never slept after a day with her. She found both my sister and I in bed in the middle of the day. Turned out my nanny had been dosing us up with child medicine to make us sleep all day so she could sit and do nothing. This isn't a bad one. My parents caught the babysitter carrying our 60-pound golden retriever like he was a baby. This was my equivalent of pre-K. All the kids were regressing in their movement ability and getting really fat, so they set up spy equipment. Turns out one carer was doubling every baby's food portions and forcefully overfeeding them. I've been a pretty regular weekend nanny for an amazing family for 4 years now. They've cycled through a couple different weekday nannies since I've been with them. There is only one monitor and it's in the little dude's room. Once the mom showed me on the camera why they let one go. Little dude said, "Mommy said I don't have to do that." And the nanny snapped back, "Well, it doesn't matter. Mommy is a bitch." And then dragged the kid out of the room by his shirt. Super fired. This isn't an answer. More of an additional question. But how much of the video do parents with nanny cams watch? Or do they watch them on speed playback and adjust the speed to normal if they see something suspicious or noteworthy? Well, a case which happened near where I live. Woman used to work. Husband out of country. Had a 2-year-old kid. They hired a nanny to look after him during daytime. Day by day kid started looking malnourished. So she set up a spy cam. Apparently the lady used to bring her kid and feed him all the food left for the kid she was supposed to babysit. Then she would feed the kid cheap biscuits. She was promptly handed over to police. A friend caught his nanny hitting their kid for interrupting that day's binge of the TV show Friends. My story isn't that interesting, but I have a camera to check in on my rabbit when I'm not there. The biggest surprises were mostly just how almost nobody followed my pet sitting instructions. The one exception, ironically, was my brother, who claimed to hate the rabbit and always wanted to get rid of it. I got an alert one day that my camera had detected movement while my bro was there taking care of him, and I decided to take a peek. I opened the app connected to the camera and saw my bro walk into my room, lay on the floor, and start playing with my rabbit. It just warmed my heart. A little late to the party, but here goes. My mom suspected our maid of stealing the silverware. And she's just freaking nosy. Anyway, the maid was indeed stealing the silverware. I think that ended up being overshadowed by my dad freaking her, though. We have a nanny cam and we caught our nanny dancing with our baby, making him laugh and giving him kisses. She's the best, and the cameras gave us the peace of mind to know she really treats him like her own. We have a security camera in my bedroom for my free roam bunny so we can keep an eye on her whilst on work. If we go on holiday act. Well, my dad is 50 and is a big bloke who acts like he doesn't like pets. Came over to visit one day whilst I was out. He went in my room and crouched down calling the bunny. He spent an hour trying to pet the rabbit and kept repeating in a soft voice, "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to pet you and see how fluffy you are." He just about pooped himself when I spoke through the security camera to tell him she's very fluffy. Edit. Thank you for my first gold. My family bought one to see our dogs when we leave on vacation twice a year. It's one where they can hear us and we thought it'd be great. We hardly used it. We also asked our maid to dog sit for us while we were out. Once when we looked at the feed we saw the dog sitter there a solid 30 minutes early just petting the dogs and playing with them. She's since retired from working. But she was the sweetest old lady and we love her. Another time my dad left a wad of cash on top of the washing machine, about $600, and she put a rubber band around it with a note saying he misplaced it. I travel the US for work, and am fortunate enough to be able to bring my 2 beagles with me. They have never been away from my side longer than the time I've been at work. They are 10 and 13. I have a camera that I use to check in on them sometimes. Mostly because my larger beagle is quite the ingenious guy. Opening doors, scooting chairs over places so he can jump up onto the counters, etc etc. Last year I was in Oregon and had to go home to Michigan for an emergency. I do not fly with them. I will only drive. So I was in a pickle and reluctantly hired someone off of Rover that was willing to come stay over at my hotel room for 3 days. She was great. Kept up on texting me about the dogs. Said things like tossing them a ball right now, so I would check in via the cam when I thought it was appropriate. This woman was amazing. Not only was she playing with them enough to make them exhausted, she was even teaching them new tricks, making them use their brains to solve puzzles, and even got my 42-pound beagle to get up on her back so she could do push-ups. She was an avid CrossFitter. I was extremely happy. We once caught the nanny putting charcoal to feed them as a snack. This woman claimed that she thought it was a snack. It was in a charcoal box. My brothers were 4. Not me, but my aunt's friend set up a nanny cam because she noticed that every time she changed her child's diaper the child would start crying a lot more than usual. Turns out when they watched the nanny change her diaper, she would use Clorox wipes if they were nearby instead of grabbing the baby wipes. Edit. For anyone wondering what happened afterward, they fired the nanny immediately and the father became a stay-at-home dad. Chasing my cats around with a broom. Hitting them. She's since been fired. I was the kiddo. My mom often tells the story of how she watched me give a big ol' hug to my babysitter who just broke down out of nowhere after serving me lunch. Turns out her dad had died a month back and it just wasn't a good day for her. I still remember you. Ems. Yancy. I hope you're doing just fine now. The couple I sat for had a nanny cam in their living room. The kind that went in bears. They got me on video giving their 2-yo the Heimlich after he tried to eat a rock. Not a parent. Caught my little sister's babysitter catching a good hour-long nap at 2 PM while my 1-year-old sister was up having the time of her life destroying my PlayStation. I got a nanny cam to keep an eye out for my elderly grandfather, especially when the homemaids were there. My grandfather started asking for lots of cash and couldn't remember what was happening to it. A brooch that my aunt was supposed to get disappeared. And then I heard reports of my grandfather being inappropriate with some of the home health aides. He was busted squirreling away his medication that he was supposed to be taking in his chair, giving money to an aide and sexually harassing another aide. Not mine, but my friend's. We watched her daughter's nanny playing with her, singing to her and just being so lovely. She was so good that all the others' mums wanted to hire her. I pay my neighbor to feed the stray cats in my garden when I'm away for days at a time. And the camera caught my neighbor trying to come in by pole, bamboo, faulting one time. He nailed it. Amazingly. We didn't have a nanny cam, but my mom set up the camcorder when she suspected our babysitter was stealing. And then caught the babysitter stealing. She returned most of the stuff when my mom threatened to report her to the police. I think she should still have reported her anyway. Now she probably just went on stealing at other people's places. What I learned today: Redditors have more dogs than kids, if not equal. My mom put a nanny cam on my sister's bedroom. The only disturbing thing my mom allegedly saw was the babysitter crying while holding my sister. Turns out the babysitter just had a miscarriage the day before. My aunt has a nanny cam and found my older cousin's babysitter playing blackjack with him. She lost $50 lol. I'm not a parent, rather the child, and I had this nanny, or yaya as we would call it. It became useless because she soon found out and kept unplugging the camera. It turns out she was slowly stealing money from my family. We fired her. This isn't something that I caught a babysitter doing, but I remember that I once saw on TV the case of some parents that went with her baby to the doctor because she cried a lot for apparently no reason. The doctor told them that she looked really stressed and asked them if they were doing something that could make her act like that. They didn't. Then the doctor and the parents noticed some really tiny dots in the girl's belly and they had no idea where they came from. The babysitter told them that she had no idea, but they didn't believe her and secretly put cameras to spy what she was doing. Turns out that she was crazy. She was stabbing the baby with a needle from time to time and doing things like shaking her cradle incredibly hard to torment her. Of course. They called the police. Confronted her and she got arrested. When I was around 12 years old, my parents caught my babysitter on camera stealing my NES games and shoving them into her pants and shirt. They confronted her about it and she kept denying it until Ninja Gaiden fell out of her pant leg. My mom took her into a room and made take out all the games she stole. She literally had games shoved under the strap of her bra on her back so that she could sneak them out of the house. And others were put inside the waistband of her underwear. She must have really thought about this for a while. Anyway, we got the games back and she was sent home without pay. I have caught her making pillow forts that are heavily resistant to the monsters that may or may not come out during heavy thunderstorms with my kiddo. 20 minutes after bedtime. Needless to say, she was dealt with appropriately. The family I nanny for told me that their previous nanny got caught doing loads of awful things. The couple that outraged me most were one, leaving their 3-year-old daughter in the tub with water up to her chest for 2 hours every day while she sat in another room unable to see said child. And 2, once she went to run an errand with the same kid. And their doorbell camera caught her putting kid in car seat, not buckling her, and peeling off. Bathroom, and their kid if the door was left open, which it always was while she was bathing. 2, they thought she was a perfectly good nanny until their kid was saying weird things that were going on and they decided to watch the footage. They fired her after seeing what she was doing. And that's where I, Super Nanny, came in. The cameras weren't actually for the nanny. They were for their kids' therapists because she was prone to violent behavior and they were trying to fix it blah blah blah. She stole a single puzzle piece of what we were trying to solve. Saw her put it in her pocket. Final straw was one of our freaking potted plants. I was the child and there weren't any nanny cams, but my parents had left a small bucket of toys and things to keep me busy and they hired a babysitter to watch me while they both had to take overtime at work and knew they would be gone most of the day. The babysitter moved that bucket of toys to another room, put me in a crib and proceeded to go off and read or something and left me there 4 hours with nothing to do. Only coming back to check on me or feed me. My parents came back to me just sadly sitting in my crib. Friends of ours don't have kids but have dogs. They were going out of town and told the dog sitter about all of the cameras including the one that is outside but sometimes picks up reflections and will actively notify them of motion. The dog sitter seemed to get it but she forgot to convey that to her boyfriend who came out and walked around naked quite a bit. My uncle told me this once when a babysitter was holding his daughter, my older cousin, when she was a baby. The baby was playing with her toys and she somehow swallowed a small piece of something and the babysitter performed the Heimlich but for babies. There's a version of that for babies IDK where I found it though. She saved my cousin and her family was thankful. They have no idea where the babysitter is now, but right now she's supposed to be around her late 40s. Edit 1. I asked my uncle about this and apparently they know where the babysitter is. She is in California and she is a very well paid doctor and makes over $310K a year, physician. That's the only thing he knows since she left. Edit 2. Thank you for the silver. Kind stranger. I dog sit for some neighbors. One of which told me she has a camera in the living room dining room for her dogs. You know those ones that dispense treats. Anyways, I thought it was a strange essential oil diffuser until she told me what it was. I was being paid to play with them for an hour, but she found out that I was actually staying for 2 or 3 hours. When she asked me about it, I think I said something like I'd want someone to do the same for my dog. Ever since then she leaves me treats in the kitchen and even got me a Christmas present from the dogs.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.